These moments, often decided on the battlefield, are more than just stories in a textbook. They are the hinges upon which our world turned. Today, we're diving deep into some of the most important battles in history, conflicts that didn't just determine winners and losers, but shaped the very course of our collective journey. From ancient clashes that defined empires to modern warfare that redrew the map of the world, these are the battles that truly mattered. So, let's march back in time and explore the conflicts that made us who we are today. Our first stop is the Battle of Marathon in 490 BC. Imagine this: the mighty Persian Empire, the superpower of its day, sends a massive force to crush the fledgling city-state of Athens. It seemed like an impossible fight. The Persians vastly outnumbered the Athenians. But against all odds, the Athenians, led by the brilliant strategist Miltiades, chose their ground carefully. They used a tactic called the double envelopment, strengthening their flanks and drawing the Persian center inward. The result? A stunning, decisive victory for Athens. This wasn't just a military win, it was a win for an idea. It preserved the unique culture of classical Greece, its philosophy, its art, its democracy from being swallowed by the Persian Empire. Without Marathon, the golden age of Athens might never have happened. The ideas of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, which form the bedrock of Western thought, might have been lost to history. It was a victory that echoed for centuries. Next, we journey forward to 331 BC and the Battle of Gaugamela. This is the showdown between two legendary figures, Alexander the Great of Macedon and Darius III of Persia. Alexander had already been carving his way through the Persian Empire, but this was the final, decisive clash. Once again, the Persians had a massive numerical advantage. Darius's army was a sprawling, diverse force, complete with fearsome Scythian chariots. But Alexander was a military genius, perhaps the greatest of all time. He employed a bold, audacious strategy. He angled his army to the right, creating a gap in the Persian line. Then, leading his elite companion cavalry, he charged directly at Darius himself. The sight of Alexander's charge caused panic. Darius fled, his army's morale shattered, and the massive force disintegrated. The victory at Gaugamela effectively ended the Achaemenid Empire and opened the east to Greek influence. This ushered in the Hellenistic Age, a period where Greek language, culture, and ideas spread from Egypt to India, creating a fusion of civilizations that would profoundly influence the world for generations to come. Let's leap forward to the year 732 AD, to the Battle of Tours in modern-day France. Their advance into Europe seemed unstoppable. A powerful Umayyad army, led by Abd al-Rahman al-Ghafiqi, pushed deep into Frankish territory. Standing in their way was Charles Martel and his army of Franks. Unlike the swift cavalry of the Umayyads, the Franks were primarily heavy infantry. They formed a massive, disciplined square on a wooded hill, weathering wave after wave of cavalry charges. They stood like a wall of ice, refusing to break. The battle raged for days. Finally, in a critical moment, Charles sent scouts to raid the Umayyad camp, causing chaos, believing their wealth was being plundered. Then Umayyad soldiers broke off their attack to protect their camp. In the confusion, their leader was killed, and the invading army retreated. The Battle of Tours is often cited as the moment that halted the Muslim advance into Western Europe, preserving Christianity as the dominant religion on the continent and allowing the Carolingian Empire, under Charles Martel's grandson Charlemagne, to rise. Now, let's set sail for England in 1066. The year of the Battle of Hastings. King Harold Godwinson, having just defeated a Viking invasion in the north, had to force march his exhausted army south to face another invader, William, Duke of Normandy. Harold's Anglo-Saxons seized the high ground on Senlac Hill, forming a formidable shield wall. For hours, William's Norman knights and archers threw themselves against this wall, but it held firm. The battle could have gone either way. The turning point came when the Normans feigned retreat. Some of Harold's men, eager for victory, broke formation. and chased them down the hill, only to be cut down by the waiting Norman cavalry. This happened a few times, weakening the shield wall. Late in the day, King Harold was struck by an arrow and killed. With their king gone, English resistance crumbled. William the Conqueror's victory fundamentally changed England. It brought in a new French-speaking aristocracy, transformed the English language, and tethered the island nation's destiny to continental Europe for centuries to come. Let's jump to the American continent and the Battle of Saratoga in 1777. The American Revolution was at a precarious point. The British had a plan to crush the rebellion by splitting the colonies in two. A large British army under General John Burgoyne was marching south from Canada to meet another force in New York. But the American Continental Army, led by Horatio Gates and the brilliant field commander Benedict Arnold, met them at Saratoga. Into fierce battles, the Americans fought with incredible tenacity. They used their knowledge of the terrain and sharpshooting skills to inflict heavy casualties, surrounded, undersupplied, and with no hope of reinforcement. General Burgoyne was forced to surrender his entire army. This victory was a monumental turning point. It wasn't just a military success. It was a diplomatic one. The stunning news of the surrender convinced France that the American cause was viable. France officially entered the war as an ally to the Americans, providing the money, troops, and naval power that would ultimately prove decisive in securing American independence at Yorktown. Saratoga turned a colonial rebellion into a world war. Our final battle takes us to the eastern front of World War II, the Battle of Stalingrad, which raged from 1940 to 1943. This was not just a battle, it was a grinding, brutal siege that became the symbolic heart of the war. Hitler's Germany had launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union, and capturing the city that bore Stalin's name was a primary objective. For months, the fighting was savage, street to street, room to room. The city was reduced to a wasteland of rubble. The Soviet defenders of the 62nd Army refused to yield, fighting for every inch of ground with unbelievable courage and resilience. While the German 6th Army was bled dry in the city, the Soviet High Command prepared a massive counter-offensive. In November 1942, they launched Operation Uranus, encircling the entire German army at Stalingrad. Their surrender in February 1943 was a catastrophic blow to the German war machine and a massive psychological shock to Hitler. Stalingrad is widely considered the single most important turning point of World War II. It broke the back of the German army on the Eastern Front and marked the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. From Marathon to Stalingrad, these battles were more than just historical events. They were epicenters of change, moments where the courage, strategy, and sacrifice of individuals reshaped the world. They protected ideas, forged empires, shifted borders, and defined the cultures we live in today. History is a vast and complex tapestry, and the threads of these conflicts are woven deeply into its fabric. Understanding them helps us understand ourselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through history's most pivotal battles. If you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past.